So hope everybody is doing great today, and thanks again for making time to join me on this webinar. My name is Vijay Saljaram, and I head up EquityRT in South Africa. At EquityRT, we've built an investment research platform designed to make life easier for analysts, portfolio managers, and other financial data users. Our mission has always been to provide cutting-edge tools that streamline research, that can boost your efficiency, while keeping your data and platform costs in check. Just a little bit about the company. For those that don't know, we have been around for 25 years globally. The South African or African office launched 7 years ago. And since we've launched the business in Africa, we've managed to tailor the platform specifically for a South African audience by bringing in some of the familiar features, familiar data, familiar workflow tools like your Excel add-in, etc., to make the platform more usable in this particular region. Obviously, from a platform perspective, being our core solution, we also offer other solutions as well, like data feeds and APIs. We also offer web widget solutions that you can integrate into your financial portals and financial websites. And recently, we launched an automated report generation tool. This tool is being designed to generate reports, and these reports will be like your fact sheets. It will be like your monthly or weekly reports that you usually send out. So these are some of the other services that we offer. Over the years since we launched the office in South Africa, our efforts in localizing or making the platform more local has really paid off, helping us onboard some of the large clients like most of your banks, Absa, Standard Bank, RMB, Bestec, Standard, some of your asset managers like your likes of your Allen Greys, your Momentums of the world. Outside South Africa, you're looking at companies like Botswana Fund Managers, PwC, KPMG, so the list goes on and on. So it's been a good exercise in localizing the product from a data and functionality perspective, and we have seen that value from our existing client base. A big part of the success that we've for EquityRT has been the web access. The fact that we try and make most of the platform as simple and easy as possible. The deep history of data that we have and the coverage that we've put together for the client base. And obviously one of our big edges in the market is our competitive pricing that comes to the platform. So these are the things that make EquityRT stand out. As I go through the session, please feel free to log a question in the Q&A box. I think your solution will have a Q&A box. So feel free to log a question, and we'll try and answer them as we go along. If not, we can always reach out to you at a later stage to answer those questions that might come to mind. I'm just going to quickly, before we get into the charting and the historic data analysis, I'm just going to touch, which is normally a question on everyone's mind, is what coverage do you have? And generally, when we have these sessions, quite often we end up talking about data coverage. So I figured let's put a slide together so I can very quickly give you an overview in terms of what the coverage looks like. And just to talk through some of these points very quickly, you're looking at your global market data, and your global market data being your traditional open, high, low, close, market caps, etc. All of your data coming out of your stock market, stock exchanges. Then we've got all of your financial and your fundamental data, your financial statements. We also, from a South African perspective, keep your financials in an as-reported format as well. So you've got the option to look at standardized, formatted financials, as well as your published financials, which is basically unique to the company that you're looking at. A range of news sources, JC Sense, London Stock Exchange, or even Reuters News would be available on the platform, forecasts and recommendations, shareholder analysis across the globe, all the indices that you need in your daily job. Fund data from South Africa perspective, US fund data is in there as well. Global ETFs. We have a bond module that covers the fixed income bit. For now, we've obviously covered South Africa quite extensively, as well as your sovereign bonds across the globe. And then we've also built quite a detailed economic module that sits on the platform, which is covers practically the globe from an economic indicator perspective. We tap into companies like the Reserve Bank, South African Revenue Service, from a South African perspective, Stats SA, and then US Fed, the Euro or the Asian or the African ministries for each and every country. So we plug in to those data, economic data points, and we make that available on the platform. Commodity, currency, and cryptos are on the platform as well. And again, this is a high-level view of the coverage. This extends quite far beyond what you're seeing on the screen. So once you get stuck in, you actually realize that actually the coverage is quite deep beyond what I'm showing you on the screen at this point in time. But today, I actually want to focus on ChartPro. I want to focus on the historic data analysis that's available and what you can do from a charting perspective. And again, I mean, charting starts off with a chart, but ultimately we're looking at how can we actually get historic data out of this platform? How can I look at trends in various data sets? And how can I do a bit more advanced analytics when it comes from a charting perspective? So I quickly just kind of summarized what we want to look at today from a high level, and we'll try and cover as much as we can through the day. I mean, we know charting has been a popular feature in the South African market, and just a throwback. Earlier in my career, I was part of the iGraph team at iNet Bridge. For those of you who've been in the market for a long time might remember iNet. So I was part of that product team. I was involved in building iGraph. This is like 20 years ago, where I saw firsthand how it is to create a strong charting solution. I mean, iGraph in those days was really popular and really worked well. And when I joined EquityRT, one of my goals, or one of our goals, has been to create a charting app that is a next generation kind of charting. So we used all that knowledge that we got from clients, as well as some of the feature and functionality that I've used before, built before, and we brought that into this charting application. So I hope as we dive into the detail, some of the feature functionality will resonate with you. Some of the capabilities you'd find useful, and some of the capabilities you might have not seen in other applications that you might have used. Just in terms of what we're going to cover today, I want to run through how you can actually plot different types of charts on different types of value types or different types of data on one chart. We can look at how we can line up and index data for better comparisons. I'll dive into financial line items and ratio charting as well, because this is something that we do a lot of, and some other platforms do not offer you to plot a financial line item, like, for example, revenue or net debt or total liabilities on a chart. We'll try and cover that as well. We'll show you how to create custom formulas on a chart, where you can create some real nice unusual formulas or unusual charts. Quick dive into some technical analysis, some design styles that you can apply to your charts. How can you share your charts with other people so you're not doing these charts repeatedly over and over again? And then we'll dive into the last bit, just touching into the Excel bit, in terms of from an Excel add-in perspective. How does the Excel add-in support your charting process, and how you can get benefit out of the Excel add-in as well? So we're gonna run through all of this, and hopefully at the end of the session you'd have a lot of questions that we can ask, and you'd be interested in exploring this further. So let's get stuck into it. Again, I mean, I must just say, I mean, if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A box on your chart, or make a note of it, and we can always deal these questions at a later stage. So what I've done is I'm actually gonna I think the purpose of today, this is not a training session, it's actually a feature demonstration rather. So what I will do is I will run through the charting capabilities and just take you through what's possible and show you in real time what you can do, and I'll just walk you through some of the capabilities that we have. I'm in the charting app, and we're going to plot Sibanye-Stillwater. This is W. I'm just going to quickly plot the closing price of Sibanye on the chart, and let's get that up and running. So what I've done now is I've quickly plotted the closing price of Sibanye on the chart. I'm going to now bring in, as I mentioned, I'm going to bring in the precious metals index, which is you can search it by name or you can search it by the code. I'm just using the code now just for that perspective. You'd see my one chart disappeared. I'm quickly going to just stick one of the charts on the second axis so you can actually see the data. So now I've got Sibanye's chart, the close price. I've got the index on the same chart on the second axis. Let's now add the gold price to this chart. It's going to start getting messy now. So just bear with me. I'm going to now add the gold price to this exact same chart. So now I'm just going to search for gold, bring the currency into the same chart. Now I've got the gold price in here as well. I'm just going to make that data monthly. Again, I'm just playing around with the axes here just to show you the capability in terms of bringing different data into a single chart. I've got the gold price there. I could also then bring in the currency into the same chart. I'm going to now bring in currency into the same chart. So now I've got currency in there. And if I want to get really fancy and bring in a macroeconomic indicator, let's go for PPI for precious metals in South Africa. So let's go for PPI precious metals South Africa, and I can now search all the way down here, and I can say, okay, that's the precious metals PPI number, and I can add that to the chart as well. So in essence, what I've done now is I've actually brought in 5 different types of data into an individual chart. So I can also bring in things like funds. I can bring in a bond, provided the frequency is the same. I can actually bring in any data set into the chart. All my data for the chart, or my value for the chart, sits in here, and I can very easily download this into Excel. This now makes life quite easy from a charting perspective. So again, I think the purpose of this little piece was to show you that the charting app that we have created is not just limited to specific asset classes. So you are able to now bring in multi-asset classes on the same chart and view that data on the chart. You can play with your frequencies. You can adjust date ranges, etc. What I'll now do is I'm just going to get rid of some of this messy bits, and I'm just going to leave the index and the stock on the chart. I'm just going to bring both onto one axis for now, just to show you this indexing. So now I've got 2 charts. One chart you cannot see because of your scale. If I wanted to index this chart, I could just very quickly index this chart, where my chart is now indexed or normalized with a starting base point of 100. We've also built in the ability where you can apply a base value to your chart. So I could then apply a base value to the chart. If I want to base that chart at 50, for example, I've got that chart based at 50, and that chart there is now based at 100. I can actually play around with the chart. So again, from a charting perspective, it actually gives us a lot of flexibility when we start doing proper charting analyses. So you'd see, I mean, I could apply a base on individual charts, or I could apply the base across both charts as well. If I wanted to apply a 50 base on the other one as well, I could then apply a 50 base on the other one as well, and it can actually adjust accordingly. At any point in time, I'm able to see the data exactly as I've adjusted it, and I can export that data into Excel if I want to use that data in any other application or any other solution that I might be utilizing. So that's quite a feature that's quite often asked, and that's why we build that feature into the chart. Again, I just reminding you again. I mean, this is a online web-based application that we're looking at. Let's get to a fresh start and let's move on. I mean, the next quick point I want to show you is to get into a bit of the financial charting and the fundamental charting. And we can, this time let's use a different stock. So this time let's use Vodacom as an example. So I'm going to now bring in Vodacom data, and we're going to now bring in some ratios. Like, for example, if I were to look at P ratio, so you'll see I've been searching using the search block to find my ratios. But what we've also done is we have a detailed function list that allows you to break down the various ratios that you might be looking at in this function list, where you could now go in and see, oh, okay, cool. I'm looking at a specific ratio or specific value type. For example, if I go to valuation ratios, I could see all the valuation ratios that I have available that I can plot on a chart. And we have little icons that explains what these ratios are as well. So to make it quite easy, all I'm going to do is enter that, and I can actually then quickly plot the P ratio of Vodacom. If I want to add in for example, the EV/EBITDA, I could search in EBITDA, and I could then bring that EV/EBITDA ratio as well into my chart. So again, all the functionality I showed you previously, even the normalization and indexing functionality between various value types, also available just by adjusting and adding data on here or rebasing as you would see fit. If I want to see charts on different panels as well, we've also created panel views where you can split the panels so you can actually see the trends a little better. And now you've got two charts that you can actually look at side by side across these charts. The axes are draggable, so typical functionality, charting functionality, has been custom built in this application. Let's look at let's stay on Vodacom, and let's get rid of these ones, and let's start looking at some financial numbers. So again, I mean, we spoke about ratios. We looked at plotting of your currencies and commodities, etc. But let's look at financials, like your financial line items that we can actually plot. So I'm going to quickly jump to Vodacom again. I'm still on Vodacom. You can see I've selected Vodacom. I'm quickly going to bring in, let's bring something like revenue as an example. I can quickly scroll down here. I don't know what let's assume I don't know what the function is. I'm going to go to my income statement and look at all my income statement lines and say, I go all the way down and say, okay, cool. I actually want to see the revenue as a chart. Just remember, revenue will be at the financial period perspective. So now I'm looking at daily data. Let's make this yearly. Let's make it annual, and let's make it 3 years. So we can actually look at some sensible data for Vodacom. So I've got Vodacom revenue now plotted for 3 years. I've got a line chart, but maybe I want to change that to a column chart that might be more applicable from a revenue perspective. I can do that if I want to. Let's say I want to bring in total liabilities as well. I can go to my balance sheet and bring in total liabilities into the chart as well. So I'm going to bring in total liabilities, and then I've got total liabilities. So now I've got revenue and I've got total liabilities that are plotted on the same chart and that I have here. So again, this is fundamental. This is now financial charting. I know some other applications don't allow you to chart financials. Again, because I have end of year values, I can still bring in, for example, a US dollar on this chart. I can bring in a index at year end on this chart. I can bring in a number of shares on the same chart. So again, the flexibility in terms of the data that you can bring in becomes quite easy. And again, just to reiterate, I mean, exporting of data into Excel becomes quite easy as well from a charting perspective. But let's get a bit more interesting now. So I mean, you can see charting of financial line items are possible. charting of ratios are possible. But let's say I want to be adventurous now. And I figured out, okay, I want to create my own custom ratio between revenue and total liabilities. And I want to create this custom ratio, this custom data spec that I want to create between these two variables. And maybe I want to look at this company's ability to generate revenue relative to its total obligations. And I've come up with this custom formula where I want to take the revenue and divide the revenue by liabilities and see what a chart like that will look like. We have this custom function button that allows me to create a custom function between two value types. So I'm just going to call this custom liability ratio, just giving it a random name. And I'm going to take the revenue of Vodacom and I'm going to divide that by the liabilities. And I'm going to create a third chart. I'm actually going to put this on a different panel so you can see what that chart looks like. So now all of a sudden at the bottom here, this green line is a chart of a ratio between the two other value types that I have on this on the screen. So this is basically taking that revenue, dividing it by the liabilities and creating a different chart. Again, I mean, I have that data that I've created, and here's my new ratio that I've created now available for me, and I can actually use this whenever I want to. So I've got this nice function. And again, I mean, your function can be as complicated as you want. So for example, if you are using, let's assume you are using your commodities that's reflective in US dollar per ton, and you want to convert that to Rand per kilogram or Rand per gram, you could then plot a currency chart. So bring in your relevant commodity, bring in a currency chart, and then run your entire conversion as a custom formula. And then every time you open this chart, or every time you plot this chart, you'll have that custom formula. And when I say every time you can plot this chart, what I mean is that you can actually save this chart. So I can save this design that I've created now with this specific custom function, and I can use the same function on different stocks or different value types. So here I've created a function for Vodacom, but if I want to now go and let's assume I want to run the same function, but this time I want to run this function for MTN. Let's assume I want to run it for MTN. I could very quickly go into this part of the chart, which is my time series, and I could say, okay, let's change Vodacom to MTN. And I'm going to change this to MTN. I'm going to stick MTN's code in there. And then I'm going to stick MTN's code in the liability section as well, because I want MTN's total liability. I don't want to divide MTN's liability by Vodacom's, MTN's revenue by Vodacom's liability. So I'm going to bring MTN there as well. So what I've done now is I've changed this value types into MTN. Automatically, my custom ratio has now gone into MTN. It's giving me my ratios also change from an MTN to an MTN perspective. And I can this spec that I've created. I mean, in all INET days, we should call it a data spec. This charting spec that we've created, we can then reuse this charting spec for different stocks. So I can have one design or a couple of designs and just keep on running these for different companies, and then pulling that data and seeing how that's going to actually impact or what I do. A very nice feature that we have. A lot of people are using the feature. They've created lots of custom ratios, and again, I mean, this is where you can actually now plot stuff that's not readily available. Those ratios that are not available as a stock standard ratio on your Bloombergs or other platform that you may be using. Again, I mean, just to reiterate, I mean, if there's any questions are coming up as I'm speaking, please feel free to pop them in the Q&A box if something comes to mind, so I can actually address it as we go along. If we're all good, I'll continue with the next little piece of functionality. I'm just going to get rid of this chart. So I'm going to actually get to a fresh chart. I'm not going to save this one for now. So let's assume you're on the application, because I mean, I've explained how you get to charting from scratch. However, within the application itself, I'm just going to just jump to another page in the application. Within the application itself, what we've done is we've stuck in little quick chart icons. So you'll see all across the application, there are quick chart icons that says open in ChartPro that you'll see across the application. So for example, if I were to click any of these, I'd be able to actually open up, automatically open up a chart. So let's take a fixed income example for a change. Let's assume I was looking at the R186. And I wanted to see this R186 as a, I wanted to see the R186, and I'm busy exploring the data of the R186 on our bond overview page. And then I realized, hold on, I actually want to run a comparison with this yield, MTM yield of the R186 against the all bond index. Let's see how it looks. I could just click on this open in ChartPro button, and automatically it will plot that chart of the R186 as my starting point. So this is my starting point where I can start my analysis. I could then say, okay, let's look at the all bond index. I could quickly bring in the all bond index in there, and I could bring in the yield of the all bond index, and I can run a quick comparative against the two. What we've also built within the application as well is, and coming to the next feature, is the ability to actually run moving averages on your numbers, or if you want to run a linear regression between the R186 and the all bond index. A very quick way to run a linear regression analysis is available on the system. Your value types in terms of your X, Y, and R variables in terms of your correlation calculation is available there. I can download the data into CSV format. I can download this chart as a JPEG if I want to use it in any of my presentations that I might want to use it in. Again, another quick way of doing this. Likewise, I mean, I'd be able to do either do a moving average on this. I've also have the ability to actually stick in trend lines or stick in standard deviation lines, etc., on this chart, so that I can actually better analyze the data I'm looking at. Coming to the next point, this data that I have on the platform, I can either use the Excel ability within the platform in terms of exporting to Excel, chuck this into Excel, and then draw a chart in Excel. Alternatively, if I wanted to use the chart as is, I could download this as a JPEG. But if you want to change colors and you want to redesign your chart from a design perspective, you'd see that we have capability within the platform to, for example, change the design, look and feel of your chart. If you prefer a white background chart, you prefer different types of charting bars, different colors you want to use different axes, etc. So you could design your chart in terms of the color format that you want. Save your chart, so next time you pull up this chart for different stocks, you could have your design set, and then all you got to do is just bounce this into as an image out of the system and stick that image into a PowerPoint or stick that image into an email. If you're looking at sending it to someone, this becomes quite easy for you to actually customize it to some extent and send it across. So that's the ability for you to actually adjust and amend these charts. Now, so you've created quite often, I mean, we've created this complicated data sets, but again, we don't work as individuals. We work as teams. We work with other people in the organization. We work with other people, sometimes across organizations, and we now need to send charts to other people. Within the platform, what we've done based on from a customer demand perspective as well, we've created the ability for charts or data specs that you may have created. So you'd see here, I've created a lot of custom charts that I've actually saved on my side. I've also got charts that other people have created that have shared with me. So within the EquityRT network, what we've created the ability for you to now be able to actually share not just charts, but a variety of screeners, watch lists, reports you may have uploaded to the platform, grids that you may have created, analysis that you may have done. But today, since we're focusing on charts, I could take any of the charts that I've created, any of the data specs or the charting specs that I have created, and I can very quickly share that with anyone else that's using an EquityRT platform. So if you work in teams, large teams, and you are building a chart and you want someone else to use that chart, or you have a central team that's doing the intelligent stuff in terms of building these fancy charts, but you want to now distribute this across other EquityRT users within your organization, all you're going to do is just enter their email address, which is usually their username, and this chart will then appear as a network chart on their platform. We have in some instances, we have sell side and buy side guys that are on EquityRT that are sharing watch lists or sharing charts or stock screeners that they have created with each other. So I could say, for example, let's take a blanket example. Let's assume you are a small boutique asset manager. You're using APSA Southside as your brokerage, and they are on EquityRT, and you're on EquityRT. You could actually share this content within the platform without having to download and send. You could actually just share it to the person, so the person can see a live working chart on their side as well. So again, these are all the added functionality that we brought into the platform to make life easier for users of the platform. And again, I mean, in this session it's not meant to go to the nitty-gritty detail, but again, from a high level, this is some of the core capabilities that charting gives you from a charting perspective, and this is how you can get data out of the platform into your reports. And on the platform, you can actually how you can utilize the charting capability for your on-platform analysis that you might be doing. So again, I mean, if there's any questions, please let me know. I'm now going to switch the flavor a little bit into the Excel automation piece and how you can actually benefit from Excel, because I know most users that use ChartPro or use some sort of charting to extract historic data also has a series of Excel models that they may be running in conjunction with what they have. Some guys are still old school in the sense that they are still drawing out or exporting data from using a charting application or a download application feature from a software product, and copying and pasting that data into an Excel model or into an Excel workbook. And then some guys obviously have automated Excel capability through your current platform providers, and that might have some restrictions. So I'm going to jump into Excel from an Excel perspective and quickly run through the EquityRT Excel add-in and what some of the stuff that you can do on the add-in. First of all, EquityRT's Excel add-in does not have any restrictions. So we don't have any download restrictions in terms of how much of data you can download. We don't have any restrictions in terms of what data you can actually pull into Excel. So any data point that you would see on the platform itself would be accessible via the Excel add-in. So for those who are not familiar, all that Excel add-in does, in this case, we have the EquityRT Connect Excel add-in that's basically sits within your Excel, Microsoft Excel. All that this does is it actually sends a message to our servers to bring in specific data to the various cells on your Excel worksheet. So if I take an example, like for example, I'm looking up in this particular model, I have the last share price as at last night or as at yesterday. And if I look at the function that we said, the Excel function, and I just want to show you how easy it is. That Excel function is it's quite easily structured. You'll see that you can see we are referencing a security in terms of the stock. We're referencing a date. We asking for a particular field, and then I'm also referencing the currency because I might want to play around with currency as well. So you'd see that the functionality that we have is quite basic. Just asking for a security, for a date, for a field, and for a currency, and it churns out information in this report from a syntax perspective. When it comes to Excel, when you are onboarded as a user, we take you through a training course to help you build these things, build these Excel models yourself. Alternatively, if you have Excel models with your current provider, you are more than welcome to share those models with us, and our team of Excel analysts will then take your models and convert any of your functions into EquityRT functions. If you don't have a model and you'd like to build something and you have an idea in terms of how your table needs to look, we'll then take that table and convert that so that it's automated for you to bring the data in. So let's look at this the table that I have at the moment. So I've got I'm driving this table using this. I'm just going to blow it up a little bit so it might be a little bit more visible in your end. This particular table is an index table. It's basically very quickly brings down index constituents, and it's designed. And in this case, I'm just bringing out some random fields. I've got the free float, I've got the market cap, I've got the last price. I'm working out a 5-year beta for these stocks. I'm bringing in value traded, headline earnings for the stock, the DPS for the last period, a P ratio, and I'm also bringing some financial. I'm bringing the revenue for these various companies into this table. But what we've done with this particular table is I'm actually driving this table with the index code. So if I change the index code, this table will automatically now look at, for that particular index that I'm actually bringing in, who are the constituents. It'll automatically now bring in the constituents for this particular index and chuck those constituents into the table and bring in that entire constituent base together with the financial year end, when was the last period, which industry they are. So all of this data is being driven just by that index code. So I could create index from a peer comparative perspective, index level analysis that I could very easily bring in this data. Again, I mean, I've just brought in these data types. You could bring in, if you wanted to bring in a table that just brings in revenue for the last 5 years, or you want to bring in the entire balance sheet, for example, in each column, that type of table or that type of model can be designed. And you can then just change an index code to bring different data in. It makes it quite easy to build a index level analysis, or if you're looking at some sort of peer type comparative that you might be running. Quite a useful sheet. A lot of we've built this for a lot of users, a lot of clients that are doing index analysis. This is kind of their go-to sheet. I'm going to take you to some other types of tables that we've created. Let's look at something different. Let's look at a fact sheet, for example. So now I'm going to bring up a fact sheet. So again, within your Excel capability as well. Again, just to show you the depth of information that you can bring in. This is a fact sheet that we created, bringing in the company name, the description of the company. We've got a whole lot of indicators, performance, some market data, ratios on here. There's a lot of ratios in here. We have the number of analysts, we have the recommendations. All of this data is being pulled through from the platform. And again, I mean, it's as easy as changing a ticker. So I'm just going to make the Cecil just for bringing it closer to home. So I could just change that to Cecil, and then the relevant data for this model now obviously changing to Cecil. Again, designing a fact sheet like this is not difficult. If you have a design in mind, if you know what you want to show on a page, our team can help you design and build this. Again, the spec sheet is good to show because it actually shows you that there's no restriction in terms of design style. There's no restrictions in terms of what data that you need to bring in. I know we do some work with advisory firms. They quite often require us to bring in, for example, a report that brings in the entire JSE or the entire New York Stock Exchange or London Stock Exchange, and they want to see which sector each company belongs to. They want to have a description. They might even want to have a table that brings in each stock and all the cross listings. So those type of designs are all possible within the Excel add-in. Again, if you're a high-level Excel user, this becomes your go-to tool from an Excel perspective. Apart from that, I know we do a lot of there's a lot of within the platform as well. I mean, there's a lot of PE variations as well. So from a data set perspective as well, I mean, I know PE ratio is common amongst many users. Rolling forward values, next 12-month values, forward PE values, trading 12-month PE values. So we could trade, again, I mean, this is just time series view of PE, the various types of PE ratios for a stock. Again, I'm driving the stock via a stock code. So I could change the stock code and drive this for different stocks as and when I please. Again, this report again is a very commonly used report. Bringing financials into Excel is also a pain for a lot of people, specifically looking at historic financial statements. Again, bringing financials into the report also becomes quite easy. Here in this case, we've got a template that actually brings in financial statements. Again, this driven from a stock code perspective. The whole idea of these templates is to design the common type of reports that you use, and creating these templates that can actually be reused time and time again without you having to rebuild these reports. So, and I mean the possibilities are endless. We spoke a lot about, I mean, I know the focus has been a lot on the equity side. These reports can also be the bond information, the fixed income information can also brought into Excel. Let's take an economic Excel as well. So here, this is an economic model. So all of the economic data points can also be brought. So here we've got global yield curve matrix spreads on global bonds, etc., that we've also created. So again, anything that you see on the platform, I got to stress, anything, whether it's a name, whether it's a number, whether it's a piece of fund data, whether it's a piece of economic data, currency, a commodity, a crypto, whatever data is on the platform, even your shareholding information can be automated within the Excel capabilities. I know some of us also use live data. They use tick data within Excel. So our Excel is also linked up with using tick data. You'll see, I'll wait for this to come through. This particular model here actually has a live data function. You'll see it actually has live data functions. And when this updates, will actually bring in your active live data that actually trades, that's actually on the platform itself. So I'm gonna delete that, let that refresh, and you'll see actually just bring in live data. I'm just gonna change this to something else. So even if you build models that actually comes up with live data, you can actually build up those models as well. So Excel capability extends far beyond what is imaginable. So again, it starts off with a requirement that you may have. From that requirement, we can then assist you to actually build something. And as you can see on this one here, as I'm speaking, you can see it continues to tick away. And again, I mean, something like this can be built in conjunction with a fundamental model that you may have. You could also bring in, for example, the USD ZAR as a currency, ticking currency in your Excel, and see how that ticking currency affects your foreign portfolios, for example. Again, the Excel bit is limitless. So let us understand what your requirements are, and we can help you to build that forward. This brings me to the end of what we wanted to show you today in this particular session. I want to take the last few minutes just to encourage some questions. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the Q&A box. I've made the Q&A anonymous as well, so your details will not be shared with other people on this webinar. So you're more than welcome to pop any questions that you have, and then we can actually see if I can answer some of them. So yes, I see there's a question around these templates to play around and see how they work. Yeah, sure. These templates are definitely available on if you are currently a user, or if you are on trial, if you take up a trial, we have templates that are available on the platform that you could select from a range of templates when this page loads. So these are templates available that you could play with and see how they work. This will teach you once you download any of these templates. So for example, let's assume you want to download this correlation matrix that actually works out the correlation matrix. You could actually see the function in it and see exactly how these Excel templates work. What's the logic around the functionality in terms of what needs to be changed. And this could form your starting point for you to further your automation. So it could, for example, you could start off looking at a ratio analysis template like this, but you could then modify this to actually suit something that you specifically need. Quite useful. We are continuously adding more and more templates to this repository. Just as a side note, if your organization utilizes a lot of templates and you have custom templates, we can also upload your custom templates that's only visible to your company within a section. So basically, this screen gets split into two parts. One part is the templates available to public, and then you'll have a little section at the bottom here, which is your templates, so that anybody that's from your organization that's utilizing EquityRT will have access to that very private template database that you have created for yourself. Is there any other questions around the Excel or the charting? I could jump into something again if I've missed something. From a history perspective, while you guys are thinking, from a historic perspective, historic data perspective, we've got most of the data across the board expands 20 years and beyond. Economic data goes back even further. So I've seen some American stats that go back to the 1900s. So it all depends on the indicator, but in general, we find that most data points go back 20, 30 odd years. So from a coverage perspective, to be competitive in this market, we've got to have a rich historic database. We take extra pride in terms specifically with the fundamental values. We collect financial statements ourselves. From a global coverage perspective, we cover practically all the stock markets across the globe. There's about 100,000 listed companies that we have in the system that's available. There's about 90,000 odd indices. You've got your MSCIs in there. You've got your Dow Jones indices in there. We've got very unique data sets. There's some other tools that within the application that you can explore if you sign up for a trial, or if you exist using the platform currently. Some of the stuff that we spoke about today, you can go back and explore that further. If there's no further questions, please reach out to anyone in my team, or you're more than welcome to reach out to our support address, and or give us a call, and we can then take that further. I see there's a question coming on P ratios available in ChartPro. Yes, yeah. So from a ChartPro perspective, your consensus estimates can be charted as well. All of your consensus estimates are on the system. Our consensus information is sourced from a FactSet analyst base. So you could plot in an EPS or a forward PE, etc. on ChartPro as well. You'll see there's a whole range of, if I quickly jump to the application again, I just want to quickly show you that. So if I go back to ChartPro quickly, and if I go into here, you'll see that within the platform as well, we have the estimates that are all available to be plotted on the charting function as well. And then from a customer, and again, I mean, these are not the estimate data is consensus, so it's not at a analyst level, so it would be considered a consensus view. Any further questions from anybody? I'm just going to stick this other screen back up so you can actually see the support details. Again, I mean, if you have any questions, I mean, you can drop us an email, give us a call, or if you know anyone in my team that's reached out to you, or you've had contact with someone in the team, you're more than welcome to reach out to them, and we can then help you answer those specific questions. But again, I just want to express my gratitude to you for taking the time out to listen to what we have. If you are interested in a trial or interested in taking up a trial, please contact us and we can set you up and get you up and running and take you through the process. If there's no questions further, I'll call this meeting to a close and hope to catch up with you sometime in the future. Have a great afternoon and hope to chat soon. Goodbye.